can do it, Lara. After all, you're a Croft.
I don't think I'm that kind of Croft.
Sure you are. You just don't know it yet.
First off, yes, it's been a year exactly. We had a successful 2011 and we decided time to go quiet and focus on what we're going to show this year. The goals that we set ourselves when we came out of last year where we needed to show that next arc in the character. We was very keen to sort of show how this young 21-year-old girl landed on an island, naive, young, interested in exploration, but thrust into a situation which she did not expect to be in. And then we want to get to the action-adventure Lara. We want to get to that hero. We want to get to that girl that everybody kind of puts the controller down and goes, that's Tomb Raider, that's Lara Croft that we want it to be. But you have to have this piece of content in the center that allows you to be able to understand how she's become this person. So this piece of code that you saw today is very important to us because we set the building blocks of a character. Last year we set the building blocks of a world. Now we give you the tools such as the bow, the prying axe, and also the fact that she meets other people. So personally she's evolving as well.
Please come and get me.
Easy. We're regrouping at my location.
The characters are very, very important to the experience. In a way in which we've analysed and pulled apart Tomb Raiders of past. 15 years of making these games, you start to understand the character that you have. And as we all know, she became a caricature of herself of late, right? In Underworld and Anniversary. And when she interacted with people, it was done in almost a sarcastic way, an arrogant way. I have money, I can do what I want. And one of the ways in which we sort of said we need to portray the evolution of our character in reimagining it and taking her back to that day one is that she has to have a personality. We put her on the island, a persistent island, and she has to interact with the same people. No longer can she get in her boat or plane and fly from Miami to Barcelona and off to wherever else next. Now she has to interact with people. And it's a very important facet for us to have characters on the island because it shows something in Lara which you have never understood before and never seen before. And having one person is not that fun, right? So Roth is he's a mentor. You get to see a side of Lara when she interacts with Roth. But over time, you'll see a very different side as she interacts with the 3 or 4 other characters that you saw today. I think it was very important to is to look at Lara of years gone by. The underpinnings of this game are based off the underpinnings of the original Tomb Raider because it's a formula. It's been a very successful formula. But much like other franchises that have been very successful in reimagining themselves, as we mentioned before, Batman Begins, you watch that movie and for the first third you're like, who's this guy? What's he going with Ra's al Ghul and he's going up into the mountains. Now all of a sudden he's got Morgan Freeman and he's got a mask. To us, we want to take the player on a journey where they will get back to a Lara Croft that feels relevant to today, feels relevant to our audience, and you have an emotional attachment to her. In the past, you never really had that emotional engagement and attachment to her that we've seen so well, portrayed so well in movies like James Bond. So for us, we're not trying to wipe the slate clean and say, this is not the Lara you used to know. It's very important to us that those iconic moments that you experience throughout the game that help set the foundation for Lara are ones that you will remember. And when you put the controller down, as I said, you'll feel like that's a Lara of these ages. She still has the underpinnings and the formula that made her so successful, but it's just put through a different filter, a filter of today.
I'd finally set out to make my mark.
So hunting at this stage of the demonstration is more about the sort of next step of her character. She gets her bow. You saw she was a little bit clumsy with it. She didn't make the kill the first time when she went after the deer. Really, it's sort of that stepping stone of progression all the way through. It will become a very important tool as we go through, but you won't need to go around and kill deers constantly. That was a way for us to teach you the importance of how to improve your skill, how to improve just your balance and your ability with this bow, what it means to keep arrows in your sheath and back. So to us, going through those experiences in this particular instance is just a way to grow the character. You'll be able to kill harvest animals as you did with the deer to be able to grow your XP, and we'll talk about a little bit later on about what that means when you play through the game. But you won't come back into a scenario where you'll be forced to say, hey, it's hunting time. You've done that experience. You've learned what you need to learn, and we take the character to the next level to take that bow into other places. One of the things that were very important to take a step back is that what you see on the screen is something that we can talk very clearly to, and we don't set the bar by saying here's what's going to happen in 6 months' time. We sort of say, hey, here's what you see, here's what we want to explain. It's the character arc. So with skills and with gear, it's very important that we set those sort of pinnings of the foundation to say she's got her bow, she's had to kill a deer. You've seen them improve. What that means later on we'll start to show you when it gets into sort of the cool, maybe combat, maybe sort of more adventure-paced beats. But right now it's about how we're going to evolve the character over the coming months that we're going to present this game to you all, is that you see the evolution of her, and it has to be done in sort of little steps. So the goal of upgrading gear is that you find a piece of equipment. So she had the prying axe, as you saw today in the demo. She needed that to be able to open up cases, get more salvage, to get through doors. But over time, that's not strong enough. She needs to get something a little bit stronger. So we gave her the task of going around and trying to break open some casks and salvage some better parts, which once she gets enough parts, she gets to come back to her base camp and improve that. That's a thread that will run through the game, that you'll feel like, okay, we presented last year gear gating. You'll come into a space and you'll feel like, okay, I want to be able to get by that door, but I don't have the gear right now. As you progress through the game, you'll go, hey, I now have that tool. I can continue with the single player story, or I can go back and I can re-explore certain areas because now I have the abilities and I have the tools. So the gear is a very important thing to us that we'll start to show a little bit later, but from what you saw today, we just gave an example of. You have a very sort of weak, partly broken tool. It has one use. You need to improve that in order to be able to get beyond the objective.
More fire.
It'd be naive of us to say there's no inspiration from other TV shows and movies. We're a studio of a lot of people, all sitting there kind of coming in with their ideas and saying, hey, I watched this last night, or I watched this movie over the weekend. So when you put all those ideas into a melting pot, you come out what we've got today. I play the game and I can pick out certain moments that I feel I remember seeing that in a movie, but it's slightly different. They've taken that magic and they've injected it into our game and sort of said, this is our flavor of what that meant. A lot of them are emotional moments where we want to be able to sort of make the hair stand up on the back of your neck, or have those iconic moments that people feel, I've seen that. I feel like that's something that I've been down that path before. I know what it means. So when we look at whether it be movies like James Bond, the reimagining of that character, whether it be Stallone in Rambo with sort of what he had to do to survive, or even through Lost, we look at that and think, that was a blank canvas. Much like ours, it's an opportunity to be able to do so much more. We've taken the island and the opportunity to have this island to be able to evolve a character which is very dear to our hearts. We want to see her progress and grow. To do that, we believed you had to do it on a persistent location rather than having her flying around the world. So it just happened to be an island. Yes, inspiration comes from many places, and Lost was probably one of them for some of the team. First off, yes, there's always that first step that you're scared to take. We did a lot of research. We had a lot of soul searching. We pulled apart, as I said, the pillars of the franchise, and we kind of said, hey, where do we take it next? One of the factors that kind of held us back is that we constantly had a game that was T-rated. And we were like, well, how do you shoehorn experiences into a T rating? And especially when we moved into a space where it was about emotion. You can't portray the emotion of things like survival, having to kill for the first time in a T-rated space. So as we started to look at how we wanted this franchise to evolve, we had to start breaking some rules. First was, we're going to make it more mature. It has to be. In order to tell a story of a character and their evolution to become that action-adventure hero we want it to be, you can't do it with kid gloves. So it was very important to us that we were willing to take those risks. And, the top guys in the studio, from Daryl to myself to Noah, we really felt this is the chance worth taking. It's something that we feel like we're going to be rewarded for, but if we're going to do it, we have to do it right. And as you play through the game, it's not like there's going to be tons of F-bombs. It's more about you'll come across experiences and you'll feel like, I could not have experienced that in the same way if I had have done that with the kid gloves of previous Tomb Raiders. And it's very unique and something that I'll remember for a long time.
Do you think any longtime fans who associate Lara with just the girl with big boobs who's hot will play this game and be like, what is this?
So I say yes, because we spent a lot of time talking to them, and Megan Marie, who's our community manager, came on board after she wrote the story for Game Informer. She's one of the biggest Tomb Raider fans out there, and Megan has spent a lot of time over the last year talking and engaging with a lot of the fans from around the world. We've had a ton of praise for the direction that we're going in. Of course, there's always going to be hardcore fans, no matter what you do and what you work on. I'm still a hardcore fan of the original Batman. Probably shouldn't say that, but I am. But when I look at the fans out there, they're the ones who support us. They've come back with sort of messages to Megan and sort of the support of keep doing it. You're taking that risk, and we're willing to sort of see it through. Even down to the fact that in a couple of days, Megan's got 14 of the world's community ambassadors flying in, and she's going to entertain them for a few days. They're that excited to be a part of this journey. So yes, the community love what we're doing. But of course, as I said, as with anything, there's a lot of fans who love what we used to do and what Core used to do. And the games are still available to play. That's what's great.
When life flashes before us.
You're right in terms of the detail. We spend a lot of time getting it to the polish that you see today. We hit alpha a couple of months ago, and we can play the game from start to finish. And when I say you can play the game from start to finish, it's in the quality that you see right now. And our goal is to spend the next sort of 8+ months, we've announced that we're going to be in early 2013, to really sort of set the bar and going in and looking at story, making sure that each little experience is kind of extruded to the most that it possibly needs to be. So for us, it's a very important thing that you build a game that has that emotion all the way through, the quality all the way through. And to answer your question, we're looking at roughly around a 10-hour plus game. So it's important that you don't put your money down and you go, that was awesome, but it was only 4 hours. That's not what we want to be. We've spent a long time getting the game to where it is, and we made a decision just last week to push the game to a time where we believe that in order to hit that quality bar all the way through, we don't just want to push it out the door. We want to make sure that we get it right. It's too important to just say, hey, let's get it out there. It's in a great position.
What kind of contraption is this?
There are no plans as of now for creating a Wii U version. And I think the reason why there's nothing in the works right now is because, one, when we started making the game, it wasn't announced and it wasn't out there. And two, as a studio, we promised from day one that if we created a unique experience or create an experience in the game, it would be unique to the platform we're building it on. So right now, we haven't looked at the Wii U. We haven't spent any time sort of delving under the hood to see whether it was a possibility. Our focus is firmly on the 3 platforms that we set out to on day one.
We've got to get out of here.
Tomb Raider is coming to the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 and PC in early 2013.
I hate tombs.